What's going on, guys? My name is Zed and welcome to this video. This is last week I watched number 32, and without any further ado, let's get into it. So, my buddy Fat Boy had told me he watched a movie, and that sparked my curiosity because the guy never watches movies. He told me he started Dennis the Menace on Netflix, and I immediately went and watched it, even though he never finished it. And I'm so surprised. I've heard of Dennis the Menace. I know there's been TV shows, books, movies, but I never knew what it really was about. In my head, from the title, it was about some bratty, annoying kid, and there's nothing more annoying in movies than a bad child. Unless they're like creepy and like killing you and stuff, and that's pretty cool. So I watched Dennis the Menace, and it turns out Dennis is just a kid, you know? He is just a kid who has this overwhelming curiosity that just gets him in trouble. And we've all been there, we've all done that. And it just so happens that his curiosity gets him into some of the most bonkers situations, and that's kind of why, you know, this character is fun, because, you know, he gets abducted, he flips over tables full of food, he switches out mouthwash for floor cleaner, and so on and so forth. He just does crazy things. I thought every character in this movie was very well casted and had great chemistry, even though they were kind of always at odds with each other. And I love, is it Mr. Wilson? And then Dennis. I think those two really worked well together. I didn't too much care for was Switchblade Sam, I believe it was, who was played by Christopher Lloyd, who I like Christopher Lloyd. I think he's a fantastic actor. But in this movie, I felt like the studio wanted it to be Home Alone 2.0, but more of like Lost in New York style Home Alone, which was just unnecessary. Now, this movie was also written by John Hughes, so I'm assuming that they hired him for good reason, because he just had huge success with Home Alone and all of his other Brat Pack movies. But it just felt unnecessary, and you can totally see a lot of that Home Alone influence in this movie. So with that being said, I gave Dennis the Menace 3.5 out of 5 stars.
The first thing you need to know is that my mother named me Enola. She insisted on it, in fact. Enola. I know it's an unusual name, but my mother is rather a fan of word games.
On your marks,
Get set, go. And Enola spelled backwards reads, well, alone.
So I have been waiting for Enola Holmes for quite a few months now, ever since the first posters came out. I can't be certain if I've ever watched the trailers, though, because there's so much surprise in this movie. For instance, I didn't know that she would be breaking the fourth wall. I had no idea, which I love. One of my favorite movies of all time is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If done right, breaking the fourth wall is fantastic. And in this movie, though she does it way more often than Ferris Bueller, I still think it does work. She's very strong. She has a lot of willpower, very intelligent, and just all around amazing. Millie Bobby Brown is just a force to be reckoned with, and she's gonna continue to have a fantastic career. Now, with Enola Holmes also comes the introduction of a new Mycroft and Sherlock. Now, Sherlock is the character I have the most familiarity with, because I've watched a lot of the Sherlock TV shows and also quite a few of the movies. And this Sherlock, to me, I don't know why, he felt dry. He didn't have much inspiration to him. He wasn't even entirely all that smart. He was just kind of, I don't know. I just didn't like this interpretation of of Sherlock because he just wasn't much. And I get it, because you want Enola Holmes to be front and center. She has the fast seat. But when you do have a character like Sherlock, you want him to be interesting because he is interesting, but he wasn't. He just wasn't interesting. Every time he was on screen, I was like, oh, it's Henry Cavill again. Not, oh, it's Sherlock. I didn't have that. So with that being said, the movie is fantastic. It's so much fun, and it sets up for a perfect sequel. And I am looking forward to that. This movie could have mini-series, it could have sequels, it could have one-offs, spin-offs. It could have anything, because this world is very rich and there's so much that they could do with it. So Enola Holmes, 4.5 out of 5 stars. If they had a good Sherlock, it would have been 5 out of 5 stars. Now, one of my favorite movies I've watched this year was Train to Busan, which is a Korean zombie movie, which was supposed to be getting a sequel this year. Don't know if that's still happening or not, but I saw on Netflix there was this new Korean zombie movie called #Alone. So, of course, as I loaded it up, it was in English, and I absolutely hate that because it's so annoying to have the mouth movements not match the actual words. So I switched it over to subtitle, and I had a blast because this movie was so fucking just crazy, because it all takes place kind of in these 2 apartment buildings, and definitely all takes place in this apartment complex. And Korean zombies are the most scary zombies ever. Like, they are so they're consistently terrifying. They have nailed zombies because they are just so they're so flexible. Their bones feel like they can just twist and break any direction. Their eyes, all their makeup, the way that they scream and they run, and there's this pack mentality. It's so eerie and creepy and terrifying. Now, I wouldn't say this movie was as good as Train to Busan. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy its use of social media as a tool to get rescued. And I enjoyed that there were certain things like the world was trying to keep the internet alive so they could actually go in and rescue these people. But the things like actual electric and water and gas, like maybe not gas, I don't know, because they did cook a couple things, but I think they used like a Bunsen burner. My voice, I'm losing my voice, can you hear that? But overall, I did enjoy this movie. It was pretty good. There's actually a couple surprises in there that I was like, oh shit, I did not expect that to happen. So, #Alone, 3 out of 5 stars. And then lastly, this week, I watched Real Steel. Now, this movie I have been wanting to watch for such a long time now, and I don't know why I haven't, but it was recently just put on Netflix, and I gave it a watch, and oh my god, why hasn't this movie gotten a sequel? It's been almost 10 years, and it still hasn't gotten a sequel. It's absolutely I know there's one set for like 2021 or 2022. This movie is fantastic. It's a great story about a father and son, and about rekindling a relationship that really never was, and also about just traveling the country and fighting these awesome fucking robots. And the robots look it's just like, remember remember when Transformers came out, and you were like, oh my god, these Transformers look so great. And even today you look back and you're like, these Transformers look so great. these fighting robots in Real Steel from 9 years ago still look like CGI from today, and even better. They did such a fantastic job with the CGI of these robots in this movie, and just CGI in general. There's a couple times where you can tell little things here and there that are like, not as great, but overall fantastic. Has a fantastic cast also. Just great relationships, great stories that all make sense. There's nothing that feels lost on me. There's no really lost potential. It's just overall a really, really great movie, and Real Steel comes in at 4 out of 5 stars. So that will be it for this week's episode of Last Week I Watched. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And until next time, guys, I'll be seeing you later. Peace.